For such a deadly and devastating fire, you'd be surprised at how little you know about it. Welcome to American Esoterica. If history class gives you the Vienna beef hot dog, this is the sport peppers, relish, tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, mustard, and celery salt for a true Chicago dog. The essential stuff in between. The personalities, events, and other ephemera that shape our history and culture. I'm Brian Powers. Nobody knows how it started. Not really. The fire that began the night of October 8, 1871, in a crowded town alongside the shore of Lake Michigan, grew too fast and too furious to contain, and remains the deadliest fire in American history. But before we can have a roaring blaze, we have to lay some kindling and add a spark. So let's go back to before the fire and start there. It was, as you might already know, the most fully developed settlement in the area, and it was home to more than a few major industries. It had, for instance, the largest woodenware factory in the world, churning out household items by the literal boatload. The owner was the former mayor of Chicago, William Ogden, who spent his post-political career building the factory, a dry goods store, a boarding house, one of the largest sawmills in the country, and the barge lines and railroad infrastructure to move it all. It's hard to pin down the number of residents, mainly due to the great influx of immigrants that flocked to the community seeking work in its major industries and who remained camped around it. The whole area had been undergoing an unheard of drought, and wildfires nearby were the norm. Many started from land-clearing fires. It got so that locals were used to the smell of smoke and ash, so many didn't think anything really amiss throughout the day of October 8th. Still, the sky had gone a shade darker, and there was a strange red glow out to the west of town, opposite Lake Michigan. Around dusk, the wind picked up, carrying with it more dust, ash, embers. There also came a low rumbling sound in the distance. Still, people mostly went about their evening routine, even attending dinner parties or grabbing a drink at the saloon. A few cautious gentlemen brought out the horse-drawn steam pumper fire engine that they usually use to pump water out of the river to douse downtown blazes. The town itself was a dry tinderbox just waiting for a match. The logging industry had resulted in large refuse piles of dry limbs and sawdust. It was 1871, so everything in town was built of wood, including the sidewalks. Even the streets were paved with wood chips. You might as well have just named the place Duraflame. Everything went to hell at around 10 o'clock that night. Giant waves of fire suddenly came pouring from the surrounding forest, accompanied by a deafening roar. What? You thought it was caused by Mrs. O'Leary's cow, perhaps? The savage sheet of fire engulfed everything in its path, moving at blinding, inescapable speed. The agonizing drought combined with vicious winds to spread the fire like a tsunami. The high winds whipped up to speeds of 100 miles per hour, creating a giant column of rising hot air and a tornado of flame. Those who weren't immediately killed ran for the river or sought shelter in basements. 75 residents of a single boarding house were lost instantly. High winds pushed the desperate citizens to the ground as they scrambled for refuge. The overwhelming heat burned their lungs, while the ash and smoke blinded them in their mad dash for safety. Even running away couldn't guarantee survival. The relentless wind delivered sparks and flame in punishing measure, catching their clothes and hair on fire, killing many in their attempts to escape. Others drowned or died of hypothermia in the river. Father Peter Pernin, the priest of a church in town, survived, providing his account of the horrific scene. The air was no longer fit to breathe, full as it was of sand, dust, ashes, cinders, sparks, smoke, and fire. It was almost impossible to keep one's eyes unclosed, to distinguish the road, or to recognize people, though the way was crowded with pedestrians, as well as vehicles crossing and crashing against each other in the general flight. Some were hastening towards the river, others from it, whilst all were struggling alike in the grasp of the hurricane. 1,000 discordant, deafening noises rose on the air together. The neighing of horses, falling of chimneys, crashing of uprooted trees, roaring and whistling of the wind, crackling of fires that ran with lightning-like rapidity from house to house. All sounds were there, save that of the human voice. People seemed stricken dumb by terror. By the next morning, between 1,500 and 2,000 people were dead. The blaze had consumed a swath of land 10 miles wide and 40 miles long in around 2 hours. 1.2 million acres had burned overnight. 16 other local towns were at least partially burned, and at least one more was obliterated. But the central community was devastated. Only 2 buildings remained standing. Contemporary newspaper accounts marveled at how some survived while others burned to ash a few feet away. The iron fire engine itself melted, but there was wood 2 feet away without so much as scorched paint. The bell of Father Perrinan's church itself had melted. There was nothing left but ash and smoke by the shore of Lake Michigan the next morning, October 9th. Those are the facts about how the Great Fire went down. And I'm pretty sure that you didn't know a lot of them. In fact, you've likely never heard of this fire, although until this point, you may think you have. Even most people of that time probably weren't even aware of it. But why not? Because this is the story of the deadliest fire in American history. It was 10 times larger and killed 5 times as many people as another fire that still managed to overshadow it. And only because it took place in Peshtigo, Wisconsin, on the exact same night as that other fire 250 miles down the shore of Lake Michigan in Chicago. This has been American Esoterica. All sounds were made by me, Brian Powers. Did I get it wrong? Did I get it right? Just want to talk about how the Peshtigo post-fire recovery was so difficult because of all the resources being sent to Chicago's recovery? Drop me a note. The address is yell@americanesoterica.com. More information on the show can be found at americanesoterica.com. Thank you for listening. God bless America.